Good evening, viewers. Welcome to another very special edition of the State of Affairs, our flagship political program. With me in the studio, stepping in for Aliou Cissé, my friend in crime, is Suleiman Dabo. Mr. Dabo, welcome to State of Affairs.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here, Sid.
Thanks so much. It's always a pleasure to have you. Viewers, like I said earlier, a very special one. Why we said a very special one, we have in our studio the Honourable Minister of Finance, Mr. Sidi Keita. Mr. Keita, welcome to State of Affairs, and we welcome you to this studio for the first time, and also to congratulate you for a well-delivered budget. Welcome to State of Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cissé.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keita. So we will be engaging you primarily as far as the budget that you have delivered before the August Assembly. And also we will be looking at other economical issues as far as the economic is concerned, if time permits us, but we will just focus on the budget for now. We've heard about the budget. You did a brilliant presentation. The IMF predicted a global economic gloom as far as the world economy is concerned. Does that reflect, or that reflection has been made in your budget?
Thank you very much. As you know, the Gambia is in the global economy, and the prognosis for 2023 is not very bright. This has been alluded to by all the major forecast houses, IMF, Bloomberg, other World Bank, African Development Bank, Economic Outlook. So Gambia is just a player, one of the players in the economic system, and as such, we are not immune to these global challenges. So we have designed the budget to reflect those challenges. That is why we have taken very measured actions and steps to ensure that we are cognizant of the challenges ahead, and we do not want to burden the Gambians with additional economic challenges. That's why one of the premise of the budget was no increase in taxes, be it personal income tax, VAT, or corporation income tax. So the tax source have been zeroized. There has been no increase frozen to take advantage, to take into account the challenges in the global economic horizon. So indeed, yes, we do take note of that. And our revenue forecast was an increase of 1 billion as far as the revenue collection from the GRA is concerned. A small growth, but the growth we expect to come from efficiency gains that we want to introduce in the course of the year. Yeah.
So overall, we can see as far as the gloom is concerned for 2023 has been a reflection, has reflected as far as our national budget is concerned.
Yes.
You are affirming to that?
Yes.
Thank you. Quickly before my friend gets in here, you emphasize on resource mobilization. That means, higher taxation, efficiency in collection of tax through digitalization or expenditure. Is this something that when you talk about putting emphasis on local mobilization of funds here, how are you going to do that?
Well, two ways, principally. I think we were guided by statistics. When we say we should focus on domestic resource mobilization, it means that there are scope for efficiency gains, there are scope for enhancement, and that we expect to be achieved through increased use of technology. We have started that with the Ascuda wall that was just launched at the GRA. I think we did the launching in June of this year. That will minimize human interface, and it has best practice built into it. So we expect the efficiencies to flow through in the increased revenue output. Also, we looked at other sources of revenue, non-tax revenue, which are crucial to the economy, such as the collection at different centers of government activities, like the security port at the airport. Now that revenue is coming into the central government. We started that effective last September, I think. And
that would be a breaking news here.
Well, it's a concession.
Yeah, okay.
And when a concession is given, it's national asset. So the central repository of that should be the Consolidated Revenue Fund, which was not the case in the past. Now the share, because the concession is a revenue sharing mechanism between the private operator and the government. So the share of government was previously housed at the Civil Aviation Authority. So now we have started channeling that to the central government Consolidated Revenue Fund. Measures are like that is what we are going about. And if you look at the statistics in terms of revenue performance, revenue to GDP for the developed countries like OECD is about 35%. So that means they have very good, efficient collective mechanisms. In sub-Saharan Africa, the average is about 16% to GDP. But for Gambia, it's about 10 to 11%. We believe that even if we can increase our revenue collection efficiency to the sub-Saharan African level, that means we can potentially increase the collection by about additional 42% without increasing the tax rate.
So basically, you are confident that this revenue mobilization can be successful without increasing tax and all those?
Yes, we are sure because we've tested it.
Okay.
When the Ascuda wall was launched, we have seen increased performance. And now the program is being rolled out to all the major collection points along the border. So we were guided by those facts, and that's what guided our decision.
Finally, before Suleiman comes here, diaspora is quite key as far as mobilization of local revenue is concerned. You know, diaspora has been seen as the eighth, part as far as our government is concerned. But I've not seen where emphasis was made as far as diaspora is concerned in terms of their revenue, that remittances that they bring in.
Yeah, we took note of that. The contribution of the diaspora to the economy is quite strong, and we acknowledge that. However, the contribution is mainly of an informal nature. It either goes to support consumption or goes into real estate. So as such, there has not been an approach to channel diaspora resources towards productive sector, like setting up of companies or going into creating enterprises or factories. That is something that we are keen to partner with the diaspora if they can coordinate or work together so that their contribution can be in the productive sector of the economy, not just to sustain and support livelihoods or to go into real estate. That being the case, there is discussion ongoing, which is at a nascent stage with the central bank, of the idea of introducing diaspora bond. And we took very keen interest. The feedback we got on our budgetary process from the diaspora community, very vocal comments came across. And this we took very positively, because as you know, the budget is a national plan of execution. So the more stakeholders whose voices are aired on it, the better for everybody. And we look at it that way. We want the citizens of the Gambia, regardless of where you reside, to take a stake in the national development. And that need not be, geography is no longer a boundary. You can be anywhere, and your contribution can influence policy in different ways.
Right.
So we are listening government, and their views are really, really concrete, and we take them on board. We have been thinking about having, in the near future, a forum where the diaspora can actively channel their contributions in terms of ideas and come to the table and have a conversation with us, because it's national development. No one person can do it alone, and the more ideas, the better. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dabo.
Yes, thank you very much, Honourable Minister for Finance, for joining us today. We are really honored to have you. Like he mentioned earlier, the discussion is mainly expected to focus on the budget that you delivered to National Assembly members just yesterday. But you talked about something very important here, and I want to you to shed more light on it, and that's the issue of collection of revenue at the airport, because as you may know, it has generated a lot of controversy in the country. People were just not too happy with the way the collection was done, because they think paying their monies to the security port at the airport, many were of the belief that it wasn't getting to the government. So it's important that government is now coming in and telling Gambians that this money actually is going into the consolidated fund instead of being limited to the airport. But what actually was the role of government as far as that security port at the airport is concerned?
Well, first of all, the issue of the security port is not unique to Gambia. They are operating in a number of jurisdictions and countries. And as such, the thing that made it so challenging was the collection mechanism. This is an example of public-private partnership, where the private sector that have the capital and the know-how will partner with government and try to address an issue. And as we know, they are offering services which is of value to the country and to the security at the airport. And as such, government will not willingly go into an arrangement that has no security or economic value to the country for sake of just going into it. Okay. We've had the feedback of the population in terms of the collection mechanism, and now efforts are being in high gear to try to introduce the collection instead of physical collection through inclusion in the ticket. Okay. We believe this will address the challenges and the upsetting nature of collecting the physical cash. Okay. It will bring about efficiency, and it is along the drive of digitalizing transactions because once the collection of the value of the security port is included in the ticket, that will mean that there'll be accurate collection. Okay. And we are sure Civil Aviation and the Ministry of Works are at advanced stage of negotiating with the International Travel Organizations, IATA, for a possible inclusion of the charges in the ticket. Okay. And we believe that will address the social challenges
that we have in this. Yeah, I don't want to take much of our time on talking about that, but the budget. An average person in my home district of Lower River, or somebody in the URR, somebody in CRR. We've all been hearing about budget. But basically the general, the average Gambian don't actually understand what the budget does or what it means. So my question is, when you are talking to somebody who doesn't know about the technicalities involved, what actually are we talking about when we say the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs have delivered a budget to the members of the National Assembly? How does people understand? What is there for an average person to understand?
Well, this is a very good question, and I think that's one of the key objectives of my ministry, to make sure that we break down the actions we are doing to the level that the layman, the person on the street, can identify themselves with government activities. You see, budget is a planning tool. Planning tool in the sense that you have your vision as a nation, you have your strategy, which be it a 5-year or a national development plan, which will assess strategy, and that strategy is broken down to annual operational plan. The budget is the financial translation of that annual operational plan. What do you, as part of your 5-year plan, which you break down, you'll say, I want to, for example, let's put it on a trajectory. I want to go to Soma. Soma from Banjul is about 180 kilometers. Okay, the budget is like, okay, I will do the first 50 kilometers in 1 hour. So in the financial sense, if you have a 5-year plan, the role of a budget is to break it down. You say, in the year 1 or in a particular year of my plan, this is what I plan to do. And the role of a budget is not just about resource allocation. It's a tool for planning, it's a tool for communication, it's a tool for monitoring and evaluation. Correct. So it's good that this year's budget has generated a lot of public interest which we welcome. And we stand ready to answer any questions, seek any clarification.
Decisions that you took here.
Not to defend, because we are making decisions on behalf of the stakeholders,
Correct.
on behalf of the Gambian citizen. So the feedback from those should be listened to. And partly is, for whatever reason, there are, as they say, there are no stupid questions. There can only be stupid answers. So any request for clarification is welcome, and we can walk people through the process, because first this will take us to the planning process of budget creation. A budget, like I said, is part of a financial plan, annualized. Some systems have what they call a rolling budget, year 2, year 3, year 4, but in the Gambia we do an annual budget. And this is based on your macroeconomic framework. You say, my economy is this, in 5 years' time, I want it to be that. To get there, what do I need to do every year?
Right.
This is the plan. And you start, it's a bottom-up approach. The Ministry of Finance doesn't just sit down and think, oh, we are superhuman, we'll come up with numbers which we believe will be the budget for next year. The ministries, there is a what they call a budget circular, which is issued like 6 months, around June, July, to all ministries, directorates and agencies to say, this is based on our plan, financial plan for the next year, these are your budget guidelines. Then they will make a pitch to say, okay, based on the programs we want to deliver, this is how much we think it will cost. Then a bilateral is conducted, where the Ministry of Finance will sit with each of these ministries and discuss each of them. Okay, your plan, you said you want to do so, but then the resource envelope is this, and as such, these are the priority areas, and they prioritize.
Okay.
Once they get there, the budget is consolidated at the ministry level. From there, we take it to cabinet, where the ministers will all sit and discuss and defend their ministerial plans to ensure they are included in the budget. After that exercise, then it goes to the National Assembly for ratification. This is the process.
That is where we are.
Yes, and to get there, we design it taking into account certain legislative norms that exist in the country. And the first such observation is the Constitution. The Constitution has addressed the budget process, when a budget should be prepared, who should prepare it, when, and what should be included in the budget.
We will come to that, Honourable Minister. I think that's an area that we would definitely touch on as far as the National Assembly is concerned. From the beginning, all I sense is you talking about we need to grow the pie. We need to do more mobilization. And then doing that means, people need to feel that money is in their pockets. Businesses needs to grow. Jobs need to be created. But as far as the private sector is concerned, what is there that is actually giving the safety net for small businesses? Historically in the Gambia, this seems not to be an issue, where previous finance ministers or the Ministry of Finance put this in real tool, where small businesses can grow and can have the safety net of creating that job and that security. And that growth is quite important, because we know the government cannot do it all. The government cannot employ all the youths. The government cannot create more employment. The biggest employers, as far as the Gambia is concerned, is the private sector. What are you doing, especially at a time when these financial challenges are all happening, for the private sector to have that growth?
Well, we are cognizant of the role of the private sector. And as we always say, we are anchoring our economic strategy on a private sector-led growth. And to that extent, we are aware of the role of these SMEs. And we have addressed this in a number of ways by creating an incentive structure for those SMEs that are formalized. The challenge about our SMEs...
When you mean formalized, can you be specific?
Yes, let me just break that down. In the sense that if you are operating your corner shop, you are not registered as a company. You are not in the government radar. So a number of the small and medium-sized enterprise are not in the formal stream. Like, for example, they don't prepare accounts, they don't file their taxes, they operate informally.
So for the formal one, what do you do for them?
So for the formal one, I think our tax regime is very, very generous, The tax
You
rate,
think?
yeah, no, it's less than 30, it's 27%.
Okay.
And
That's quite a lot for a small business.
Well, yes and no, because if you look at it in the context that you file this once a year, you will be operating throughout a year. You're not asked to pay on a month-to-month or quarterly basis, sort of. So there's a window of a breathing space, and we are concerned and we are equally committed to supporting the small and medium-sized enterprises. One area has been there has been a decrease in the level of interest rate overall. A couple of years back, it was in the 30s. That has come down. And to the
Honourable Minister, I don't want to cut you here, but
yes.
when you talk about interest rates, you know, with the whole financial banking, as far as the Gambia is concerned, whether the interest rates have been dropped to by a digit or 2 or 3, actually they are not helping small businesses. I just, you know that. There is very little that the financial sector, as far as the banks are concerned, are actually helping the businesses. And when you talk about the interest rates, that's one aspect. When you talk about the tax and the returns, actually it's not actually helping.
Well, I think based on my understanding,
the growth is, you know, it seems to be a mantra from the First Republic to date. This idea of, you know, public, you know, private sector-led economy. Yeah, great. It is good. In fine prints, you can put it in that way. But it is not being practicalized. Young businesses, small business in this country are actually not feeling that.
well,
When did you last have a forum inviting all small businesses? You know, if the formal ones.
yes, I think there is the Ministry of Trade deals with the small and medium-sized
You have occupied that,
and I occupied that
yes,
role.
have you ever-
that's
have you ever
why
engaged them?
yes, we did try, and in fact that's why one of our strategies was how to help, because as a government you cannot just go and talk to somebody because he's in business. They have to be registered.
Yeah.
That's the first phase, and a number of if you look at the small and medium-sized businesses, just take a pool, you'll see that a large number of them are not in the formal net, and that's why it comes to banking. If a small business want to be assisted and supported by a bank, they have to be registered, they have to have their accounts, they have to have the minimum prerequisites of a bank credit loan verification. But you cannot just because you're running a shop and you say I'm a small business and a bank should help me. If you go to the bank and say, I'm a small business, they'll say, yes, where is this company registration? Where are your accounts? And this looks like a turn-off. So it's a So we really encourage. I'll take advantage of this.
If I keep going about
No,
this,
I will encourage.
People will think.
I will encourage. I will encourage.
We're not gonna let
I will
him
encourage the
over.
businesses
Yes.
to formalize.
Yeah.
Then
But
they'll
that has been done. There are
a number of them.
There are so many businesses that are formalized,
Right.
you know, as far as the
Okay.
Gambia is concerned.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, your ministry, the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Trade,
Yes.
hardly has done anything as far as engaging small businesses are concerned. You know, I mean,
You're talking
this
about
is-
formalized business,
these
small
are
businesses.
formalized. These are formalized business.
No,
You know,
we
they
did-
drop on the backdrop of GCCI. Fine, GCCI does what they do, but as far as the government is concerned, we have seen. You know, I mean, Gambia is not an island. Let me quickly finish with it.
We're talking about the budget.
I think we should. This is a very important point.
Yeah,
Let me
just
just come on that. Yes.
You see, we see what happened when the COVID came.
Yes.
You know, the whole world, you know, went through
Yes.
rough times. But governments have taken it upon themselves to engage small businesses, you know, and help. I know you had certain businesses that were helped as far as the tourist industry is concerned with the other international
Even the COVID
bodies.
rice intervention was
But that's for individuals, sir. But I mean for businesses.
Just to answer your question, government support to those businesses in the markets that you are referring to were all formal. There is no way a government will organize a business for support without it being in the formal network. So our first message here is we encourage them to be formalized.
Okay.
Once they formalize, they can come into the eligible net.
Okay.
And on a more serious note, even when I was at the Ministry of Trade, we really wanted to support Gambian entrepreneurs to come to the import cycle of these essential commodities. We even created pilot schemes where we vetted some businesses to support. But it's still a trial and error, and the exercise is still going on.
Okay.
So we are not leaving them alone, but there are prerequisites like pre-qualifications. So this is what the formalization will do.
Okay.
Once they're in the formal net, definitely government will stand by them.
Honourable.
And it is our interest to support the small businesses.
Thank you.
Because these are the largest employers. If you look at the job market, the largest employer in any economy is the small and medium-sized enterprises. That's for obvious, and we are cognizant of that. But we are encouraging them to come and to the formal net through formalization.
I want Mr.
We don't want to make it look dogmatic, but it's a chicken and egg. If you want me to be held, you have to have the prerequisites of eligibility.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Honourable, we're not going to let CD control.
No,
it's all right. That's fine. That's okay. That's all right.
All right. So we're talking.
In fact, this is a conversation I like to have.
Correct. Yeah.
Because the small businesses, once they are formalized, should be able to be eligible to see what tools. Like, for example, we are coming to the African Continental Free Trade Area. If our small businesses are ready, this means the African market is their market.
Correct.
What can we do as a government to get them support? And the Ministry of Trade is already actively working on this.
Wonderful.
Stakeholder engagements are ongoing.
Okay.
And
Honourable Minister, I want us
without
to
them
talk
being
about
formalized, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we don't know who is who.
I know for the Badbunkas we are all formalized.
We need to support them. It is in our own interest as a government to be with them.
Thank you.
very much,
I know
Minister.
the budget is a national document and it's huge. It covers a lot of areas.
Yes.
So small enterprise, they're important, and I'm glad government is talking about supporting them and how to get access to a bigger market.
Yes.
My question, slightly different, has to do with revenue and expenditure. As you said, and when we talk about the budget, we're talking about revenue and expenditure of a government for a particular period. When you presented your budget, I'm sure you've had this in the social media and from probably some friends and family members about the huge increase in the salary of the Speaker of the National Assembly.
Okay.
When you were giving your
speaker,
speech,
even the National Assembly members.
okay, yes, no, yeah. I mentioned the Speaker specifically because he's the head of that institution, and the increase is different. If you look at it, the figures are slightly different than what the National Assembly members are going to get. So, the question is, why increasing salary of senior civil servants at this point in time when you agree that in the year 2023, we're going to sail through what you call rough ride?
Well, first of all, I think I'll make a distinction. The salary of the National Assembly members, starting from the Speaker to all the employees in that body, are not determined by the government. There are constitutional provisions. There are 4 statutory institutions that are mentioned in the Constitution on how their budget should be treated. Those are the National Audit Office, the Independent Electoral Commission, the Judiciary, and the National Assembly. The Constitution says these institutions, for split of roles, because I think I am not here to think about what the constitutional drafters were doing, but governance dictates that if you determine somebody's remuneration, you determine
them.
And to foster that split, the constitutional drafters deem it that these 4 institutions should be off the government executive.
So in other words, what you're saying is these figures, this increase in the salaries coming from the National Assembly members themselves, not isolation from your ministry.
I'm telling you, and our action is
in simplicity, that's what it means.
Yes, no, I'm coming. Let me land.
Okay.
Yes, the Constitution, in fact, Section 44 of the Constitution address like the IEC element of it, but all the other 4 institutions are equally mentioned along similar lines. What the Constitution provision is, this institution will design their budget and forward it to the President for inclusion in the budget. And the President himself cannot amend or change or modify. All he can do is make a comment on their submissions and submit that comment to the National Assembly, so that when the legislators are voting on the budget, they may take it on board. This is how it happens. So the National Assembly, the IEC, the Judiciary, or the Independent Electoral Commission budgets are not determined by the executive. So when the when there was an uproar
Yeah.
of discussion about the salary of the Speaker of the National Assembly, unfortunately, we don't control all elements of the budget.
Yeah.
These elements are ring-fenced in the Constitution.
And that is
And in fact, that's where there is a challenge still.
Yeah.
Because there is the physical affordability dimensions as well as the legal dimensions.
And
but
this is the reason
the
why
Finance
Honourable,
Act empowers the Finance Minister to look at the fiscal aspect of
absolutely,
the
and that's
but
the
then
reason
that
why
is an act.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when an act conflicts with the Constitution takes precedence.
Prevails, yeah.
So
And that's the
we
reason why,
don't
Honourable,
have, as executive or as the minister or as the government, any ability to change or modify the emoluments or other expenses related to the National Assembly or any of these four institutions.
And that is the reason why I know the relationship between the media and governments across the world
Yes.
are not very friendly.
Yes.
But you see what you just did here.
Yes.
Because most people didn't understand that these figures are coming from the National Assembly as an institution itself, not coming from the central government.
No,
Unless that is done,
Yeah.
the Minister of Finance, the President, and the government,
Yeah.
these are the people who are going to be blamed. And as it is happening right now,
Yes.
everybody's yelling at the minister and the president and the government for increasing the salaries of National Assembly members when ordinary people are not getting any kind of help.
Well, I think I appreciate the feedback because that means they are concerned
Right.
and their views are taken on board.
Yeah.
But we want to just let them know there are constitutional provisions.
Okay.
And this is where it's a chicken and egg. How do you strike that delicate balance between the fiscal sustainability versus the legislative sanctity
Honourable
of
Minister,
these institutions?
we'll go for a short break and
Yes.
when we'll come back,
Okay.
we'll
All right.
continue. You're
Thank
following
you.
State of Affairs.
Thank you.
With me in the studio is my friend Suleiman Dabo. Our guest today is Honourable Minister of Finance, Mr. Honourable Sidi Keita. We'll go for a short break and we'll be back.
Espas Motors is the largest and most modern auto service in the Gambia. Espas Motors is the only authorized dealer in Chevy, Mercedes-Benz trucks, Mercedes-Benz buses, Kia, Ford, Futon Mini and Midi buses, Futon trucks. At Espas Motors, we have qualified professionals who use modern technology to diagnose and repair all brands of motor vehicles. Espas Motor services include auto sales, auto repairs, vehicle painting, availability of high-quality spare parts, towing services. We are reachable at any time. Call Espas Motors on 352222 353-4444 or locate us on the Bertel Harding Highway. Espas Motors.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. You follow in State of Affairs. Our guest in the studio is Honourable Minister of Finance, Honourable Minister Sidi Keita. Quickly, if you just want to conclude there, from what you were talking about your chicken and egg business.
Yes.
It looks like you enjoy that.
Because, like, for example, the financial sustainability dimension is what the fiscal authority of the Minister of Finance is. But that is superseded by the constitutional provision.
Correct.
And in no way can we even try to test the Constitution in such matters.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's look at inflation. You talked about the inflation, the pressure, and all what is actually happening. Because the last 6 to 8 months, all we had about inflation, not only Gambia, but all over. That is actually putting pressure as far as prices are concerned on goods, energy, a lot of everything else. Your budget, you put that into consideration?
Yes, we did.
And how?
We did that by making sure that because inflation is like what they say, too much money is chasing too few goods.
Yeah.
That's in the layman how they define it. And how do you do that is the budget has an overall deficit of 3.9 billion. And that 3.9 billion is a reduction from last year. Last year was 4.5 billion. So on a macroeconomic stability basis, we are managing our deficit well because we are not growing the deficit. Instead, the deficit is reducing. But we didn't just stop there. We have also looked at how the deficit will be financed. And the domestic component of the deficit of the 9 billion, will be reduced by 52% next year. So the other larger part of it will be funded through international financial interventions. So as such, most of the funds that we acquire as a government through international lending are normally at concessionary rate or lending rate. So, and they are more affordable for the long term. So basically what we are saying is we are mindful that there is already inflation in the horizon, and as such we should be mindful of how we finance our deficit. How you finance your deficit is more of a trigger to inflation than the size of the deficit itself. So that's one of the considerations we took.
Mr. Dabo?
Yes, I have a special interest, Honourable Minister, when you said this coming year, government is going to concentrate on domestic resource mobilization. Because I think that is very, very key as far as dealing with external shocks. Like you mentioned earlier, the war in Ukraine, the pandemic. These are all external shocks that can affect us locally here, and thus the increase in prices in this country and all over. When you talk about domestic mobilization of resources, which areas are you actually looking at? I'm thinking about the way I'm understanding is that you are going to invest more, for example, in the agriculture sector. In that way, we are going to have enough of our own locally grown food, so we don't have to depend on Ukraine, for example, for grains that are exported from there. Is that something that you are considering?
Well, agriculture is on the productive side, but when we talk about domestic resource mobilization, we want to look at the revenue integrity of the whole and how we can expand the revenue base without increasing the revenue, the tax rate. And what did we do? We've created a new directorate within the ministry called the Directorate of Revenue and Taxes. This was never existent. The ministry never had a dedicated directorate focused on the revenue. So to put the central pillar of our strategy or the budget delivery, we started with the creation of this directorate. It will look into all the existing laws relating to revenue collection. I mean, when some of these rates, particularly non-tax related, like we've increased the levies on immigration related.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
To our surprise, when the conversation started along, we realized that these rates were last reviewed almost 30 years ago. And we were advised through the Immigration Directorate department, and we were surprised, because how can you have rates that predates even 10 years, 15 years, not to talk of the period that, and also years, the Immigration Directorate did not stop at the historical time when it was last reviewed, but they put it within regional comparison, and that's what formed the basis. But coming back to expanding the focus of the domestic resource mobilization, one approach is digitization, to ensure that revenue collection mechanisms are as digitalized as is possible. We started with Ascuda Wall, and we are looking forward to the launching in the course of the year the payment gateway, where transactions can now go online. Once transactions go online, VAT collections will be more automated. Efficiency will kick in. So we believe
reduction in
that's one. And also when it comes to taxation, we have had a lot of tax expenditures in the past, duty waivers of some sort, and all of these, anything to do with revenue will now be studied and holistically reviewed with a way to bring in about efficiency. Because when the times are hard, you cannot add additional burden of taxation on people. But when you increase the efficiency and you broaden the tax net, we believe that will bring about
when you talk
gains.
about local mobilization of revenue and the effort that GRA has done of years, we have seen the transition from income tax to Gambia Revenue Authority. I mean, I can say it's one of the most success stories of a transition as far as institutions in the Gambia is concerned. Since GRA was very successful, I still don't know why certain institutions still remains how they are. Quickly, but we don't have a mapping system like address, for example, in the Gambia. You know, today I can register my business at Kairaba Avenue. The next minute or the next month or two, I can be somewhere else. So they are off the radar. What effort, as far as your ministry is concerned, Ministry of Trade is concerned, the GRA is concerned, and the local authorities are concerned, to work hand in glove to see that we don't live in a blind society. Sorry to use that word.
Yeah.
Because I think we are losing so much money because...
Well, I'm happy you picked it yourself. No. I didn't put it in your mouth. I didn't say it.
But, you know,
you can see.
I think, you know, we need, when there's somebody talk about growth, I believe we need to invest in order to get money. And how to do that is to use this institution, work with a hand in glove to make sure that we have a perfect address system in the Gambia. Since 65 to date, that is disaster.
Yes.
And I think when we can invest into that, we will make hell lot of money for the growth of this economy. And that is something that you need to work on.
Yes.
That could be a great legacy.
Yes. Well, I think you are spot on. The digital address mapping is already actively rolled out in KMC and Banjul with Google. And the new Ministry of Digital Economy is actually working on digitalization a lot. And we are also working with the Ministry of Local Governments.
And local authorities.
Yes. The idea is to introduce a cadastral mapping where every plot of land in this country will be mapped out, identified and traced to somebody. The Ministry of Local Government is working on that. And in fact, the land reforms that are afoot, they are starting with the land policy, and then this is going to be rolled out. And this is where we are pitching. Because as you know, you yourself could see, say for yourself.
So much money.
Well, I don't have to say it.
I can
I'm happy that. So you see
that we are losing millions of dollars. Because we are not investing in terms of capturing some of those things.
That's why GRA has done a fantastic job, and they continue to do that, and we applaud them for their effort. But we still believe they can do more.
Right. They can do more if they work hand in glove with the local authorities.
No, in fact, not just the local authority. I think we are looking at a three-pronged approach.
Yes.
The digital ministry is at the forefront of all this reform agenda, because we cannot reform without going digital.
Correct.
And that's why
digital world now.
We want to really support that ministry. Okay. We want to partner with them. In fact, I keep telling him, you are my biggest stakeholder, because the sooner you roll out your payment platform gateway, the earlier all this digitalization drive can go through. And once that is done, it will even make life convenient. When can we grow or develop an e-commerce market when people cannot transact online in the country? But to do so, you need a digital infrastructure of a payment platform. And this is what our vision is.
And we need a perfect mapping as well.
Of course, that will all be there. Yes. And in fact, I think for KMC and Banjul already they do have. Yeah. If you go to a number of houses,
we need to see street names as well.
Regardless of, because digital mapping has now really made street names a bit redundant, because with that, technology can trace you to your location.
Absolutely.
So I think that's one leapfrog dimension we can look at. And just to tell you some of the initial results we have had, we worked with the Ministry of Lands. And you know, everybody who leases your property, you're supposed to pay lease rentals.
There's billions of areas.
So I'm not quoting numbers. Okay. So you see, we've not spoken before I come to the studio. So we've started small. In the last couple of months, I think last year, the total collection was about 114 something. But this year, for lack of clarity, but I knew the local government has this July to date collected about more than 100 million on land lease rentals. And one area we are looking at, we've already written to banks to say a number of lease documents have been issued to you as security. Please get to the owners to say, let them pay their lease rentals. And we expect all those. These are some
but
of
the records are already there at the Ministry of Lands.
But that was no, I couldn't believe. You see, the whole point is government is continuity. Yeah. Whatever was happening then.
Correct.
We're here now and we'll be held accountable for what we do while we are in institute.
Continuity.
Going forward.
I don't want to tell you your areas. I don't want to say the areas.
But I'm happy.
I know
I'm
the
happy
areas.
as a layman into the business, you can identify for yourself what is the scope for improvement.
You know, my uncles are Badabunga, so we smell money.
Yeah, and so you know,
that's it.
so this is the pill. This is the centrality of our focus on domestic resource mobilization.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Even if you come to rent, today you rent a house. I mean, rental income tax is a law, but compliance rate in this area, because I mean, these are some of there are ways and means the directorate will work with the stakeholders to engage them, understand and communicate. And that's why I am here, to really make it known that we are an open government. We want to listen. We want people to come forward, work together, put proper solutions on it, and we move forward. Okay. Because national development, no one person.
Thank you. I'm glad you are an open
Honourable,
government, and I've seen
when
that
you talk about
when
you talk about national budgets.
Yes.
There are three things that ordinary people will be looking at.
Yes.
Taxes.
Yes.
If their taxes are going to be increased or not, and you've answered that by saying there will be no tax increases for the coming year. Whether there is salary increment. We talked about the National Assembly as an institution, that you are not responsible for. The suggestions are coming from them. And they are the ones who are going to approve it eventually. How about government, central government? If there is an increase, how much is it?
No, I think actually for the government, we revised the budget in July. And that revision came up with a 30% increase of basic salary.
So basically that's what's going to remain for the coming year?
Yes, we have not factored in any increase. Of course, if you are a staff, you have annual increment. That is not overall salary increase.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But of course, there is no plan for a wholesale revision of the pay scale.
Okay, across the board, no salary increment.
One thing is, this is 1 year. Government is working on a reform of the civil service. And I'm sure, I mean,
and possibly an introduction of minimum wage, right?
Well, minimum wage is a long argument to have.
You want to see that happen?
Well, we will. You see, the whole point. The problem of the country is not expenses. What we have is a revenue problem. Exactly. If the pie is large, it can
grow
be
the pie.
That's what we are doing.
We are
working on that.
I am so glad that you agree to this point and that this is a concern for the government. Because unless there is expenditure in the productive sector of the economy, I don't see how we dig ourselves out from where we are.
In fact, that's why if you look at agricultural sector, we've increased the budgetary allocation, both local funds and donor funds, by 69% from last year. It's now 2.79 billion to the sector. And we are also looking at engaging the private sector into agriculture.
Thank you very much. I think, Mr. Keda, we must start pushing, because it seems he's learning very fast as far as politics is concerned.
Well, I'm not aware of that, but it's good.
You talk about the revenue is not our problem.
No, I didn't say so. I say expense.
Expense, no, I understand. Yes.
The revenue part.
To grow it.
But as a government, we have the biggest incentive to ensure that the remuneration of the population is at a rate that is decent.
That's understood.
But then once the pie is grown, then that will follow.
In growing that
we
pie,
have no interest
in growing that pie.
in keeping people's level of weight below. But it's all about sustainability.
Let's
when
talk
the
about
sustainability is addressed, definitely we're here for the
let's
people.
talk about the
and
ingredient.
don't forget, we're also part of the people.
Thank you. He knows how to deal with it. He keep talking. Mr. Keda, quickly. Growing that pie. Let's talk about the ingredients for that. For example, the SOEs, the state-owned enterprises. I don't want to say they are doing very badly, but we have seen the study that has been done. It wasn't very, very good.
You are referring to the Ernst & Young report?
Yes, the Ernst report. And when you looked at revenue collection as well. When you look at local authorities and they go and do all these collections, at the end of the day, all that money comes into government.
No, local government doesn't.
No, it doesn't come to government per se. Not directly.
I think we need to clarify.
No, what I'm saying,
perceptions are important.
It is
what I'm
because
saying, when I say
the general
it comes to
public out there, I
government,
think central government is responsible.
In fact,
what
I
I'm
think
saying,
some people may
want
feel
to-
that some of the duties they are collecting is flowing through the central.
No, I just want to quickly, just the link that I want to make there, what the local authorities are basically doing, because they are doing development.
Sure, they are part of the government.
They are part of the government.
It's called decentralized government structure.
If they are not collecting
They are
efficiently,
local government, but they are part of the government
Central
machinery.
government,
if local government is not collecting efficiently, so we cannot have development. We cannot have development as far as those local authorities are concerned. And GPPA as well, we know that there is a GPPA bill in the making.
No, not in the making, it's an act.
It's an act. Okay, it's already been passed. So when you look at the SOEs, you know the report that I'm talking about.
Yes.
But recently I walk around, I saw gum posts. Why not sell it off?
Well, no.
You know why I say you sell it off? Even the staff
Yes.
that are in there,
Yes.
it is not even fair on them. I went to the one round here,
Yes.
and if I went to the one back out,
Yeah.
I saw rats on top of my head.
Well, I cannot comment on individual SOE,
Right.
but I can
Yes.
comment on SOE in general and government plans for the SOE sector. We are cognizant of the fiscal drag of the SOEs because the first premise of an SOE, these are marketable activities which a dedicated institution is created. It's owned wholly by government so far. All the SOEs are wholly owned by government, and they are supposed to operate along private sector lines to generate efficiency and service delivery, as well as generate the revenue needed. And with that commercial approach, that's why if you look at their package, their modus operandi, they are managed by a board, not by the central government, so that those efficiencies can flow through to government in the form of dividends.
Okay.
And at the last review, because there is a directorate of SOE, the total assets of the SOEs is about 33 billion. So, I mean, imagine if these are operated properly and delivering the services at commercial or near commercial rate, so that the efficiency gains will flow through to government in the form of dividend.
Right.
That will support the central.
We have a deja vu here. You know, we had the PPP, with similar problems, and we had the ERP, and we had the JAMES, and we are here the same thing.
I'm coming. I think what we are working on is, first, there was a diagnosis study of all the SOEs. That's the answer in your report. I mean, it's on public websites.
Yes, absolutely.
And recommendations of those. And it is a fact that they are operating at less than optimal. They can do better. So that's why government has come up with a new approach to addressing the SOEs. Each SOEs now, we have a SOE directorate. A legislative document, the SOE bill, is before the National Assembly, which we expect to table in this legislative calendar. That will create an SOE commission. That will now be the clearinghouse of oversight role of the SOEs, from board appointments to making sure that they deliver. And we have piloted a performance contract. Each of these SOE will now, going forward, sign a performance contract with the president to say these are your benchmarks, from your operational efficiency to your employee welfare to your profitability. That will be tracked and that will be assessed, and a report will be generated to see how they are doing. So initially, I don't think that discipline has been fully implemented. There was a performance contract in the past, but we are looking at it from a different lens now. And we believe, as we speak, we have 3 performance contracts ready. NAWEC is already ongoing. We have a performance contract ready for signature shortly with the Gambia Ports Authority, with the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation, and the GNPC. This will shortly.
I think the next one is to become post.
Well, I cannot comment on individual SOEs, but it's a good feedback. It's a good feedback. But then, of course, some of these things could easily be boiling down to management. Because what you're talking about, does it require somebody from the Ministry of Finance to come to that level? These are operational issues. There's a board for Gampos.
We have
there's a management.
We have a minute, and I cannot forgive myself for not asking you this question before.
Please,
okay, just put the question in there.
And that has to do with the donors. The Gambian economy is it has a significant portion of it that is dependent on sources or funds coming from outside the country. And when you delivered your budget, you admitted yourself that because they fail in what they're supposed to donate to the country, there has been a gap or a hole that has been created in the budget. Okay, I am not sure if you have made enough or created enough buffer for any kind of contingency for donors failing in what they're supposed to do when it comes to the budget.
So quickly, do you have a donor fatigue?
No, I would not. We have very trusted donors we've been working with over the years. These are institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, the Islamic Development Bank, the BADIAs, the UN agencies. And I need to make a clarification here. When I said in my document laying the budget that we have received less last year than we expected, because some of these budget support, because donors come in different forms. They have direct projects which are appraised, and these projects are government projects. But the donors come and say, as development partners, we'll support you by providing the financial wherewithal for you to execute this project. That's one. So that's one distinction. We want to make it very clear.
Okay.
There is nothing called a World Bank project per se. All projects implemented in this country by any donor.
Time is up, Honourable Minister.
But I need to clarify this point. So we are not factoring in any budget support next year, which was not already negotiated and discussed and agreed, and all the milestones we know will be realized.
Thank you. As far as your subsidies are concerned,
yes.
I mean, is it sustainable? 30 seconds.
We said
we
no.
Have seen
we've seen no. That's why when the prices are ebbing down, we are reducing the scale of our reduction in order to reduce the subsidy, because it's one of the least effective way of government intervention. Why we are doing that? Because we don't have a nationwide social register to make targeted interventions.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Any misconception or clarification that you want to make?
No, I think
make it very
one
clear
thing I want to make it in 30 seconds is we're here as a government for the people, and the Ministry of Finance, our doors are open. If anybody has any questions on any matters, we have a dedicated communication officer or who can be reached.
We need to have a contact with him.
Well, our doors are open. Actually, and most of our activities, as we speak, the citizen version of the budget has already been prepared and is uploaded on our website. Our budget implementation reports are uploaded. The first place to go is visit the Ministry of Finance website, and whatever information that cannot answer your questions, you can contact.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for your time. Thank you very much, my colleague.
Thank you.
My friend Suleiman Dabo, viewers, we thank you so much. But I just want to challenge the Honourable Minister and the President to go and visit Gampos across the country. Thank you so much. You're watching State of Affairs, and this will be repeated 10 a.m. on Sunday as well. Thank you so much. You say point noted?
Well, yes, we have feedback. It's a feedback mechanism.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
we have to walk the talk.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.